how did you originally approach photography as a business person? Just for people out there listening.
Yeah, I think that was probably one of the more challenging things when it came to being an artist who wanted to actually earn a living doing my art. You know what I'm saying? Because there weren't, especially 15 years ago, there weren't that many resources available
Mm,
unless you shot weddings. I think the wedding photography industry and the wedding industry is like a whole thing. And there were tons of tutorials and how to market yourself. But I didn't want to do that. And when I say I didn't want to do that, I wasn't mad at shooting weddings because I shot weddings for 10 years.
mhm.
But there was a certain way they presented themselves that where I didn't see myself reflected in it. So thankfully, I drew inspiration from other artists who were in fashion, who were using photography and using culture and our culture as a way to tell story. A lot of old heads might not remember the street etiquette, out of New York. They were from the Bronx, the Brooklyn Circus. That's a clothing
Mm,
brand by my man Ouija in Brooklyn as well. These were cats who were forethought, like they were like they kind of changed the tone of the black aesthetic. And for
mm,
me, as a black man from New York, living in the South, who still maintained a certain aesthetic that revolved around the art scenes in New York and a lot of hot spots around the country and world for that matter. I looked at those guys as inspiration. You know what I mean? Like whatever they were doing spoke to me. So I wanted to kind of reflect that energy when people saw my work, and that made me come up with the style, creativity, and soul aspect of my business. I wanted people to think of those three things. If they see anything going out in the universe from me and my company, it needs to reflect any one of those three things that I mentioned. And if it doesn't, then that's not a part of my brand. That's not what I want to do. So it was real simple for me. I just want to talk to people who like shit I like. You know.
But how do you find those people? Because like as a business, like because I think a lot of artists struggle. I think there's a lot of like art is so it's a lot of dope artists out here,
A
and
lot, a
it's,
whole
it's,
lot.
it's so many dope artists out here. But not everyone has the ability to take their art and make it a business.
Yeah, it's a challenge, man. It's hard. I mean, there are so many formulas out there and textbook ways, but for me, I think it's a combination of a lot of things. And when I've read Malcolm McDowell's, no, sorry, not McDowell, Malcolm Gladwell's book, The Outliers, for example, right? Highly recommended book for people who like when they talk about success, right? They talk about the math genius who wound up being homeless versus the guy who was not the best at math, but he had social skills and was able to network and build relationships and friendships with people who could help him get to the next level. I think it's a combination of all of that. You can't just be
Mhm.
good at what you do and think you're going to, be successful. You have to have a balanced outlook when it comes to your presentation and your outlook on life and how you deal with people and how people perceive you, and this is something that is a constant lifelong journey for a lot of entrepreneurs and business people I know. Some people are successful at certain things, and then some people who are great at what they're trying to do, they're not getting any traction. So that's where the timing thing comes in also, because I think, for example, being in the Triangle area and being in the arts and being able to kind of establish somewhat of a footprint during a time when people were needing the services that I had,
Mhm.
and maybe aligning with the vision I had for the work I wanted to produce was a godsend. You know what I mean? Like I started doing work and then the article showed up, so all of a sudden
Got it. Got it.
artists
Got it.
who normally wouldn't come to Durham were here, and we all felt like we spoke the same language aesthetically,
Mhm.
and kind of like using that as a platform to kind of help develop more work, build more relationships. So I don't know if there's any formula. I know there's a lot of business coaches out there who have these formulas and things that these left. This is what you need to do step by step by step, and then I don't think there's any guarantee to any of that work, and I think it's a bit of a skill, talent, people skills, soft skills, and luck and timing. You know what I mean?
Mm.
And look, I'm not a millionaire by any means, but I've been blessed to be able to say that I've been still doing business for 15 years and working with cool ass people like yourself, bro. You know what I mean? It's like just doing my thing out here, bro.
You work with hella more cool niggas than me. I don't even gotta go through that. I mean, to
Yeah,
be frank,
it's a
like
short
people
list.
people that inspired me, frankly, as an artist. You know what I mean?
Word,
Like
word.
the Minstrel Show is one of my favorite pieces of
Yeah.
work of all time, right? And the
Hmm.
fact that you've worked with those gentlemen is just
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
yeah, like.
yeah. I mean, so that kind of yo, respect. I appreciate that, man. But it's like the irony of that, and this kind of segues into like music, right? Because when I first got out the service, but I was still kind of dabbling my toes. I was always a music head, honestly. I played instruments, so I grew up learning playing the guitar, taught myself how to play the drums, play by ear keys
Like
and
what
stuff.
age we talking? Like early age,
Yeah,
older
yeah. I was
age?
like maybe 8 when I started playing the guitar, up
Okay.
until like maybe high school, you know.
Mhm.
But being surrounded by music, my dad had thousands of records. He was always playing. We had music playing in our house constantly in our kitchen. You know what I'm saying? We just had a little transistor radio in the cupboard, and we just had it playing the jazz station. You know what I mean? So that influenced me a lot. Fast forward, like living in North Carolina, and not really understand the music scene here outside of, you know, in much respect to the brother Petey Pablo, you know what I'm saying? I didn't have any other perspective of what North Carolina hip hop sounded like outside of, you know, wave your shirt in the air, like, you know what I'm saying? And
Right.
so when I first heard, you know, Little Brother and other artists from this area making music that resonated with me, because it sounded like what I listened to in New York, because they
Right.
were influenced by the same artists that I listened to up there. You know what I mean? It was like, oh wow,
That
okay.
sound is definitely
Yeah.
like, yeah.
It's a very, you know what they call it, you know, boom bap. I don't
Boom
like
bap,
to
yeah.
label stuff, but that's what, you know, it's just had a certain
Sample,
soulful
boom
energy.
bap, yeah.
It had a soulful element to it that really I felt it.
Yo,
you know?
Minstrel
So
Show is just like,
that's probably my favorite Little Brother record.
yo, you know, it's like, yo, we just gotta like, yo,
Yeah,
Minstrel
yeah.
Show, like, if anybody listening don't know, like, man, like, that joint
Yeah.
right there, man, that came on my freshman year of college. That was like,
Yeah.
it was crazy. It was like late registration, Minstrel Show, and like Thug Motivation 101, Jeezy, like all in the same time span. It was just a crazy. Oh, Wayne Carter 2. Or was it Carter? No, yeah, Carter 2.
I think it was Carter 2.
Yeah, Carter 2. All that time was just, oh my gosh.
It was a golden era, man. It was like almost a renaissance period for a lot of hip hop heads, because there was so many different styles coming out around the same time. They were like spanning the country. You know what I'm saying? Because I grew up in an era where you only heard regional music depending on what state you went to. You know what I mean? You didn't hear New York music in LA. You didn't hear LA music in New York. And then Radio 1 and Clear Channel showed up, and all of a sudden they're doing national playlists where you're hearing different types of music, and it's the same playlist across the country.
Right.
So hearing music that resonated with me and being able to listen to it and listen to only that, and then the internet, you know what I'm saying? And back then it was LimeWire and downloading mixtapes from producers who turned out, you know what I'm saying? Like, and putting viruses on my computer. Yeah, I went through all of that, man. And so anyway, fast forward to like be working with cats is definitely something that's humbling, man. I don't take any of that for granted, man. It's a blessing to be able to like sit down and chop it up with Knife, or sit down and chop it up with Pooh. You know what I'm saying? Or be
legends
in a
man.
room doing photography for the Foreign Exchange project, or doing their artwork and stuff, man. I mean, I don't, it's crazy, man. Like, it's
no
like
question.
Full circle, bro. Full circle.
No question, man.